Today, I am reviewing a very controversial game. Not just controversial for the Switch 2, but also for all the other consoles it's on. And that game is... Star Wars Outlaws. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to say that this review is going to be more of an off-the-hook review. I didn't really script it. I made notes with just a few key things I wanted to keep in mind, but I didn't really script it, so if there's a few things I leave out or it might not be as cohesive as normal, that's why. But I just kind of want to give my unhinged review of Star Wars Outlaws on the Switch 2. While I will be kind of talking about it on the Switch 2, I'll mainly be focusing on the game itself. But why don't we just kind of start off with the story of this game? So I'm just going to give a brief story summary and then just get into my opinions. The game starts out on, I think it is, editor. This is the planet name right here. You see this? The title that is on this game case is the planet. And you're K-Vess, and you get into some trouble with some of the syndicates and stuff there, so you have to go, and you'll go to Tashara, which is the first open world planet, and you'll know this one guy will help you as you complete different missions to rebuild and fix the Trailblazer, which is your ship you stole on the other planet. Turns out he's a bad guy. He betrays you. And I picked the wrong option, so didn't go too well for me. In the end, he's trying to kill you, and Jaden comes in and saves you, and he basically says, I saved your life, you're gonna work for me. So K-Vess, Jaden, and ND5, mostly K-Vess and ND5, which is the robot on the front of the game case, go off on different missions across different open-ish world planets to build a crew, complete missions, get parts, and the ultimate ending is they want to pull off a big heist to get information on, I think it was Zarek Besh to frame them or something, or the other way around. And there's also Silo, which appears to be the main villain, but he really isn't. You even see Darth Vader. Turns out Jaden turns on you, and you have to get a freedom bolt for ND5 to free him from Jaden. And after that, it's basically happily ever after. So that's a very, very brief story summary of the game. I am still kind of figuring out my review strategy, and I want to lean less from just giving a hour-long recap of the story and more on actual reviewing, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But anyways, the story. Honestly, the story was better than I expected. It was very engaging and thrilling. And I have to say, this was one of those stories that kept you on the edge of your seat in multiple areas because, first of all, you never know who to trust. Especially in the first part, this one guy, I think his name was Hondo or something. You think he's a very worthy person, he's helping you. He was a bit sus in some areas, but then it comes to the one part where he wants you to betray Crimson Dawn, which you don't want to do. And you trust him, and in my case, I trust him with him. Turns out I shouldn't have. He was after me. So, and then there was Haas, which, he was going to be part of your crew, but he sold Nyx, which is your little alien pet, to the Jabba the Hutt. So you have to go to Jabba the Hutt. And I remember I just stormed in the Jabba the Hutt. I did not give any care being stealthy because a huge aspect of the story is being stealthy. I just rammed in there, murdered everyone because I was very mad at Haas. He ended up dying because I killed him. Just kidding. But anyway, you never know to trust because even Jalen, he's this really good guy that's going to take care of you, and he betrays you. And all throughout the game, and as I played more, this one aspect of the story became more and more apparent. You don't know who to trust. And after you realize that, it really keeps you on the edge of your seat because you truly cannot predict what is going to happen next. And I really loved that about this game's story. And I have to say, this game's story basically exceeded my expectations in almost every way. It was a great story. It was a thriller. a lot of this game is stealthy because you're an outlaw, so you'll have to hide from Imperials, knock them out. And some of the missions were very hard, and some people spot you, and you really have to work your way around it. But I really did like it. I will admit, sometimes having to be so stealthy got annoying because sometimes they would catch you and throw you out. Sometimes you would be eliminated. And there's different like wanted systems. And sometimes I just wanted to run and shoot people, but I couldn't because I had to be stealthy. So that was a little bit annoying. But overall, the story exceeds your expectations. And when Indy 5 first came into the story, I was wondering, do I trust him or not? I figured he has to become your companion because he's on the game cover. And he does. And you do really build a relationship with Indy 5 and the good characters throughout the game. And again, the story's pretty good in this game. Definitely better than I expected for this game. Because going into this game, I was excited, but not too excited. But the story, especially by the end of it, and it hooks you early on, which is a very great thing about a game if it hooks you early on. And this does hook you early on. And another part of the story is it takes place in missions. It's not just one continuous linear story. There's different missions and side quests that you can do. I didn't do a lot of side quests, but you can even kind of do stuff out of order to a degree. So it's completely based on a mission system, which was actually really cool, but also kind of annoying sometimes just because, different everything like that. I honestly don't know how to feel about the whole missions system for a game like this. I mean, I think it's necessary for a game like this. I don't know if it should be implemented into the main story because sometimes there was multiple side quests to the main story, which was a little annoying. But overall, it's like Tears of the Kingdom's like that too, I guess, but I think they did a better job in that. But next up, let's talk about gameplay, which is probably the biggest aspect or most well-known aspect about this game. So this game was marketed back in 2024 when it originally came out as the first open world Star Wars game. And maybe it's just me and I'm coming to terms with what open world means. But I feel like calling this game an open world game is kind of a far stretch for me because while you do have open world planets and missions which kind of plays into the mission system where it's open and you can just drive around in your speeder, which is so fun. But then again, the planets aren't that big, and the way it does is that there's certain restricted areas at first, so while it's an open world planet, you really can only go to set areas. Now, once you get more in the game, you can actually roam around more, but I just feel like calling this a truly open world game just really isn't, debatable. It's just, I wouldn't really call it that. It also takes place across multiple planets, which is another weird thing for calling it an open world game. Some of the planets are more open world-ish than others, but I guess you could call it an open world game. But it's a far stretch in my opinion. Then again, Mario Kart World is kind of a far stretch for calling it the first open world Mario game, but I don't know. I just expected more, if this was really an open world game, but, yeah. And then another aspect of the gameplay is controls, and the way you control it was interestingly okay. There's a lot of stealthing and going around, but one thing I absolutely loved about this game was the amount of settings it gave you. The photo mode, you can literally change any setting in the world on that thing. But there's also difficulty settings for basically everything in the game, and it's not just normal and easy. There's, different modes, and then there's, different levels to everything, and you can change the difficulty on everything, so maybe you only want one thing to be easy or one thing to be hard. That was very good about this game. But the gameplay felt a little wonky at times, which we'll get into that more in a minute, but I don't know, it was just a little weird, the wonky gameplay. But on another hand, the graphics are very good. They're not the best, and I've even heard they're not the best even on the PS5 version, but this is where we're going to kind of touch on the Switch 2 version. This is this game is not available on the Switch One. The Switch One couldn't even run probably the initial menu screen for this game. But the graphics are genuinely breathtaking, and this is the first game of its type to run on a Nintendo console, which I think is amazing. But this is by far the best looking game that I've seen running on a Nintendo console yet. The graphics are really good. It runs on a solid 1080p 30 FPS. I didn't really notice much frame rate drops, like maybe a few, but other than that, it ran perfectionately good at 30 FPS, and the graphics looked good. It felt so good playing in handheld mode. This is a battery drainer, though. It does drain your battery a lot. So, yeah. But then, really annoyingly, there was also another problem, and that is crashing. I experienced crashes with this game probably 5 or 6 times throughout playing it. Just randomly the game would close and say there's a problem, the game had to close. I kind of came to a theory that it's if you leave it running in the background for too long that it does this, but sometimes it would just happen mid-play cycle. Maybe they'll patch that soon. I've already beat it, so I haven't really played it much. I did move it to the internal storage, and so far it hasn't crashed, but I haven't played long enough to really test that. That may have been why. I'm not sure. I've heard some other people, do it, but it might just be the Switch. I don't know. And lastly, there's the stuff. So, a lot of people online have been calling this a quadruple or 4A game instead of AAA game, because this is a AAA game, by the way. But it's making fun of Ubisoft because for a AAA game from a company like Ubisoft that is supposedly open world, there's a lot of flaws and just weird things about this game. First of all, the supposed open worldness, which isn't really open world, but also just so many weird behaviors, like weird, jagged animations, crashes, glitches, and just so weird things. Like, you're trying to open something and you have to run around in a different weird area. You're not able to shoot in all the areas. For instance, I saw someone, they threw a grenade at a table of people, it exploded, hurt them. People were still sitting there talking, be like, oh yeah, I had chicken nuggets for dinner, as the grenade goes off. And then so there's just a lot of weird behaviors, and the list just goes on and on. Most people who know stuff about this game know that, and this game is sitting in those positions where it's really not ranked that good, and it's just that sharp edges all over this game. Ow! Sharp edge right there. It needs a lot of polishing. And this game came out in 2024, and even on the Switch 2 edition in 2025, it still needs a lot of polishing. But, overall, just recapping the game, it's a really good game, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. That was the best aspect. The gameplay, not so much. The graphics, yes. For the Switch 2, amazing. And I might get some comments saying that just because this is unheard of for Nintendo doesn't make a good look. I know. I had comments like that on my Switch 2 review. Okay, yeah. So, and it's actually a decent price, but the extra content isn't that much. It's barely any extra content. But I really do love this game. I wouldn't put it above Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know where it would rank. I don't know, honestly. Speaking of Zelda, I am currently playing... Oh my goodness. I'm currently playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Review probably in January or December this year, but most likely in January. But I'm really enjoying it. I'll just tell you that. My stations have been blown with this game. I'll just tell you that. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching my videos. Thank y'all for the comments and the positive stuff and the subscribing. Please make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I will see y'all in the next review, which will hopefully be the Mario Kart World review. And then after that, if I'm not completely burned out, I might do a fun video and or the Switch 2 Welcome Tour review, and then December, Metroid Prime 4. And oh my goodness, I'm ecstatic for that. Anyways, y'all, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one.